So how is Kabbalah different from any other approach? They say, take a book, you read it once, things get better, and the world will change. You do this or that. Is there an essential difference here? Is there anything new? The essential difference is not in reading a book. It's in the fact that a person learns what he or she needs to do with themselves according to this system. The essential difference, I would say, is this: that you can have books in the world that discuss inner correction, improving your own attributes, love your neighbor, and all that kind of thing. The essential difference is, in the wisdom of Kabbalah, it opens the upper world for you. You begin to see it. And once you see the system and the mechanism, and that you are an inseparable, integral part of it, then you see how to behave correctly. Because no theoretical proofs, lectures, or arguments can help. We see that. Only if a person can feel and see that it is so, that's what convinces the person, and then they can act out of their nature. A person can't put their hand into a fire or jump from a tremendous height. A person just can't. And in the same way, the person will behave correctly as soon as he or she sees how the entire natural system, the system of reality, behaves. So does a person who studies Kabbalah and advances and attains a sensation of the spiritual world, do they receive fewer blows, or do they receive the same, but they have a different way of relating to them because they see the reason behind them? Well, first of all, the person doesn't perceive blows as blows, because only if the person revealed the true picture is it easier for him or her, because the person sees their situation, even if it's bitter, as something purposeful. So it's like a person who is ill and needs to go through some treatment, but knowing that eventually there will be a good, healthy state. The person's already happy about the state that will exist. It's called sweetening of the judgments, sweetening of the sufferings. The person also immediately sees how he or she can correct the situation and attain a good life, not having to go through reincarnation another 1,000 years and be some poor destitute person, not knowing what will happen tomorrow, and lower than all other creatures. And here you have a method which is healthful, simple, open, and is being revealed to everybody today. And this didn't exist before. It was talked about for thousands of years, but nobody understood it. And now it's starting to be revealed, and anybody can reach it, anybody who really is interested and needs it. So you're actually saying that the wisdom of Kabbalah, its revelation, and humanity, that suffering need to meet somewhere at some point along the path. Yes? What does the point depend on? The truth is that it depends on the feeling of suffering. So maybe it's better that there's more suffering now? No, it would be much better if we could convince the nation of Israel to begin corrections, so that we wouldn't have to reach such a state of hatred from all the nations of the world towards us, and have to reach states that would be beyond control, that terrorism wouldn't have to be revealed in all these forms that we can't control. The way of correction is much better. It's better than suffering, and suffering means blows that who knows how much man would have to go through, like we did in the past, until we decide that we need to change something. We can see even now that suffering doesn't bring man the right answer. We went through the Holocaust. So some people began to ask themselves why. Why was this done? They didn't say there is no creator, no God, no control. Some even removed that issue, what we're speaking about, from the studying of why it happened. So if a phenomenon like this doesn't bring us to a state where we have to somehow deal with the reason of why it happens, That indicates that we have to go another way. We have to reveal the method, the wisdom, and the general system and how it behaves so that man can see it and open it up. And out of that, man will realize that it can be achieved, that there can be correction. Perhaps to end, the last question. There are many people, many approaches in the world, and we see that some use crisis and disaster to try to explain, to convince people that they're right, to try to take advantage of the pain. How's Kabbalah any different if it comes out and trying to explain and convince things to humanity when it's in pain? No, here you have, I say it like this. Maybe there's no difference in me saying, you know, there is suffering in the world and there's a reason for it. Everybody says it. And then they say that the reason is such and such, that this is human nature, that man must change. Everybody says that. What's next? Do they have anything further? Do they have something in their hand called the upper power, light that brings correction, that they can change human nature with or not? Human nature is the one thing that changes in the entire reality. Can we apply some force that can change nature or not? This is the difference between all other methods and the method of Kabbalah. So there's actually no issue here with convincing? Well, there's no convincing at all, and it's not possible to talk to a person and convince him or her. If the person doesn't feel that this is their problem, that their suffering is related to some higher cause, and they don't ask themselves about the cause of the suffering. Baal Salam asks in the introduction to Talmud Eser Sephirot, we have 6 such volumes. It's our main book of study, the study of the 10 Sephirot. He asks there, at the beginning, in the introduction, why is he even writing this book? It's very deep and very difficult book to learn. So he asks, who's the book intended for? He doesn't say some religious people or secular people or philosophers. The only person he says it's for is for the person who asks, what is the meaning of my life? It's a simple question. It depends only on the inner maturity of the person. He or she can be a construction worker, a shoemaker, professor, it doesn't matter. But whoever begins to sense that it's coming from within can't ignore it. The person must understand why he or she is suffering. Why is his life full of suffering? And they don't ask this to escape it, because just escaping it is not an essential question about life. It's just a question about everyday survival. But the person asks about a deeper cause in life. What is life? Where does it come from? And why is it full of trouble? Meaning that the question has a deeper foundation, and a deeper foundation is already a spiritual cause. And that's because everything in our world evolves from the spiritual world. And there are a lot of people who come to us, and they're all different. And you can't say at all in advance who can receive this. So what does it depend on? If a person receives 1,000 blows and more pain, and the point awakens in him, or if they just continue to receive more blows? The wise is the one who sees what's coming, and that's the whole difference. There's a person who is beaten for an entire lifetime and just bows his head and goes on saying, what can we do? That's life. Meaning that he or she still doesn't have the brains along with the bitter feeling which can help him or her escape the blows and prevent the next blow. To start to study and find out where it comes from and why, so that they can sweeten everything and change the steps of their development. And there are those who develop along with the experience until their intelligence begins to work on the person, and the person begins to ask and evolve this way. There's a lot of suffering necessary, but I'm very optimistic because I see how the wisdom of Kabbalah is starting to take an important place in our lives. We will perform the corrections demanded of us, and to the extent that we're able to equalize ourselves with the upper light, we will enter peace in eternity. And that includes the whole humanity? And then to all of humanity, we will be a light for the Gentiles, because that's actually our duty. Thank you, Rav Laitman.